So I joined Search back in 2008 when we were still Live Search. We had not rebranded to Bing yet. And this is what it looked like. Everybody had a stark white background, a little bit of a logo, a couple links. That was pretty much it. Very minimalistic, very plain, very boring. Round about the time I joined Search, there was a team of people in Live Search that was starting to kind of challenge that ingrained notion that Search had to be plain, had to be boring in order to be fast. So we were kind of toying with a few ideas, kind of thinking that, connection speeds were getting faster, so maybe plain and boring didn't have to actually be the case. So we set out to kind of build an experience that could be beautiful, a little more rich, a little more alive, a little more human, but still fast. So we decided to buck this trend and go with something a little bit different. So we decided to add a photo to the page. Now this idea sparked a lot of internal debate on our team. It was not seen as just a strategic bet for the company or for the business, and there was a huge amount of concern about page load times. Page load times are always very important to us at Search. But we decided to go ahead and just test it out anyway. So this is the first photo that we ever published on the homepage, and I can't call it the Bing homepage because back then it was Live Search. Not super groundbreaking, not the most compelling photo I've ever seen in my life, but this idea of adding like that rich full bleed photography to the page really made us stand out. Nobody else was doing it. It really, really quickly became one of the most talked about, if not the most talked about feature that we had at Live Search at the time. And people just raved over it. The feedback was astonishing. These people would come in and they just loved it. So we actually changed up our plan pretty quickly. Originally, we were going to be once a week. We were going to update this plus the little hotspots, which you'll see in a few minutes, once a week. And about 2 weeks in, we decided it wasn't going to work, so we switched to a daily update, which is where the hard work really came in because we had no team in place, we had no publishing platform, we had no plan for what we were actually going to put up, and there was still a ton of skepticism within the team as to whether or not this was really something that we should be doing. Mainly because the idea of having a human being handcraft an experience on the homepage for Search was hugely controversial. Search is all about the algorithm. It is king, and you are not supposed to have human beings putting their little hands in there mucking around with things. Oh, and I'm losing my place. So our team, we're on the editorial team. We are a tad bit of a novelty within Search. This idea, like I said, of having human beings getting in there and putting their hands on stuff, not something that made the organization happy. So it was a mindset that internally that we really, really had to work hard to change. So we like to use this little analogy when we talk about what it's like to be an editor in Search. Our organization is full of developers, testers, and PMs, program managers. Their job is to ship features. That is what they do. They plan them out, they ship them, they get them out the door, and when they are launched, they move on to the next thing because it's a new planning cycle, new milestone, so they move along. For us, we're editors. We work with content. Content needs care, daily feeding, a lot of nurturing to make sure that it's always beautiful and always engaging for our users. So we are the mammals. Our job is really to kind of take this static chunk of code that the developers have put together and turn it into something that people are actually going to want to come back to every single day. So we really kind of focus on that vibrant, rich, human, beautiful experience.
So this is where we landed. This is today's homepage. And we really think of this as a daily magazine published. So the image is our cover of our magazine. As you hover over the image, there's information and trivia. You can click through deeper into our search experience, and that's the meat of our magazine, our content that we offer our users, taking them on a different journey every day. Really, our mission is just to create a great front door to Search, a welcome mat, should you say. And we really want to bring the brand to life. We want to engage our users, and we want to create an emotional connection with our users. And I'm not above using a puppy to do so. So, as Stephanie was saying, the image really distinguished our brand in the marketplace. It's something that's interesting, people really connect with it. But as you click through this This is a richer look and feel that you get exposed to. It draws you deeper into the product, and that visual richness has followed you through your search results. So it's no longer 10 blue links. It's this deeper, sort of more immersive experience. So it's a picture, how hard could it be? When I first got this job, I told my parents about it, and my mom said, so after you pick the picture, what do you do for the rest of the day? I'm like, Mom, it's harder than that.
So this is actually one of our first aha moments when we started kind of figuring out what we should be doing with the page. It was about a couple months into after we had started publishing the photo, and we put this picture up, and people went crazy. Now at Search, we're very data-driven, and so we measure everything, including the way that we measure photo performance, like what is a good photo for us, is when people click on the hotspots, those little trivia boxes that Kristin was showing you a couple slides ago. This one was the first time that people just went crazy. The clicks were out beyond anything we'd ever seen, and we were like, it's the Maid of the Mist boats. What's so exciting about that? Most people didn't know what it was, and it was this sort of air of ambiguity around it. They actually thought the ship was sinking, and they thought people were suiting up to abandon ship and jump overboard. So they were freaking out, and so they were clicking all of the hotspots to find out what was happening and where this had happened and all that kind of stuff. So it was sort of like, oh, ambiguity is a good thing. If you want to inspire curiosity in people and get them to click on things, it's nice to show them things that they are not familiar with. So that really kind of became one of our defining principles. When we look for photos, we see thousands and thousands of really pretty pictures every single year. But when we look for photos, if it does not make you want to know more about it, it doesn't go up on our page, even if it's pretty.
So these are some guiding principles we use when choosing a homepage image. They must always be beautiful, intriguing, poetic, and they have to be interesting, like Stephanie was just talking about. They have to make you want to learn more. And we're also thinking about the technical limitations of fast page load speeds, where our logo is going to go. We have a white logo. We have to think about how the search box interacts with the composition of the photo. So it all comes together to be a beautiful picture every day. So this is a beautiful picture, iconic part of the American landscape. You could see this on a postcard. People probably have some warm, fuzzy feelings about it because it's familiar to them, but this wouldn't be a homepage image. The UI wouldn't work on top of this image, and it just wouldn't make you want to click more. Everyone knows this is the Golden Gate Bridge. So this is how we would do the Golden Gate Bridge. This is a completely unique perspective. Even if you drive over this bridge every day, you have probably not seen this view unless you happen to be one of the people that paints the bridge. So this is how we do it. And our love of the unique and unusual follows us to our animals that we feature on the homepage. This is the Death's Head hawk moth. So you might be fascinated, you might be repulsed by this little guy, you might think he's adorable, but you probably want to know what it is. And this is camping in trees. So you probably have camped before, you probably climbed a tree, but this is probably something that not very many people have seen before. And so this is how we show people on the homepage. We show them for scale and also always doing something interesting. We strive to make the page relevant, so about 30% of the times we're actually publishing pictures that are relevant to the date they're published. We do all the standard holidays you'd expect, and we try to do a lot of holidays you've never heard of. So this is the Holi festival in India, the festival of color for the return of spring. And we love this sort of image because it's celebratory, it has people in it together doing something interesting. This is how we do events on the homepage. So this is probably some of our hardest imagery to find. We're doing the same holidays year after year. We want to keep the page fresh, not cliched. And it gets challenging to do that. There's only so many things that say Groundhog's Day, which is what I'm looking for now.
So as you can imagine, the homepage is a very, very iconic part of the Bing brand. It's the most visually identified piece of our brand. We're always looking for ways to introduce kind of that extra little bit of delight for our users who come to the page every day. So about a year ago, we launched a video on the homepage. It was a ton of fun, incredibly challenging. We have very, very small file size restrictions that we are limited to. The amount of motion is incredibly challenging for us. We want to give a little bit of a breath of life to the page, but we don't want to make you seasick when you come here. We want everything has to meet our quality bar, which is very, very high.
It has to be a lock shot.
And it has to be a lock shot, yes.
That loops easily. We have
Yes,
about 4 to
which
6
means the
seconds
camera-
for it to do something interesting.
The camera has to stay stationary. So people love the videos. We don't do them every day. We do them occasionally, but they're very popular when we put them up. Last Friday, actually, we launched a new feature, which is 360-degree panoramas on the homepage. And this is just kind of another way for us to sort of create that fun, engaging, immersive experience for people. This one in particular lets you sit there, lets us put you right on the bridge, and you can do a 360-degree spin around the lovely Elba River Valley.
So Stephanie was just mentioning popular pictures. So we use click-through data to determine popular, but we also use user feedback. We get a ton of user feedback, probably 10,000 pieces a year of verbatims from users that are just writing to tell us what they think of what we're doing. It's really one of the best parts of my job, that I get to read just instant feedback of how people think we're doing. And it's mostly positive. People really love the image. It really actually makes a difference in their lives. It changes their attitude at the beginning of the day. So this is a really, the comment is really sort of standard kind of comment that we get, especially when we show animals. Animals are really polarizing, especially if the animal's looking directly into the camera. So this person really fell in love a little bit with this goat. It was a little charmed by it.
This is
stared into his soul.
One of our favorite pieces of feedback ever.
So, but sometimes it can be a little bit uncomfortable, like this person's comment. So this was actually a Japanese user. It was sent to me from the Japanese team. So we have 9 different custom homepages around the world. We have to think globally, and there's a lot of different tastes and opinions from market to market. This came to me, I pulled it out of a deck that was entitled Images that Inspire Feelings of Disgust in Japanese People. It was filled mostly with reptiles and amphibians and fish. But anyways, we like the tree frogs in the States. All right, well, thank you.
That's us, and if you have any questions, you can use the @Bing Twitter handle. Check out the page.
Or the feedback link on the bottom of the page. I read it all, promise.
Thanks.
Thank you.